All right. Back to a familiar scene here. We got quite a bit more work done this weekend, as I'm sure you can see. Quite a bit more work done this weekend. So, what do we want to do today? Well, today I'm looking at a couple of things. We need some windows with some proper glass and steel. And we also need some wooden doors and some flooring. And then we need to dress the inside of this up just a little bit better. We probably want to have an elevated floor section here. And we want to have... We'll leave the altar and the other stuff out of the actual church, and we'll have them as separate objects. But we will have to have the stuff required for the how you would do mass and communion and stuff like that. Now, I don't know 100% what communion looked like for church in the medieval period, so we would have to do a bit of research on that, but we don't need that per se for the church itself. So we can get the church done, and then we can just look up some assets that would make sense, which for the most part, because Vikings were known to raid churches, we would have golden chalices, golden plates, obviously a golden cross or something like that. Obviously the windows were expensive. So there was a lot of money in churches, which is what made them prime targets for Vikings to raid. So those are things to keep in mind. So we might as well just get right into it. We need to make a glass texture. I don't think we need to make a model of a glass. I think we can just... the way glass worked back in the medieval period is they couldn't do large panes of glass. They had to do very small ones because the technology just wasn't there to stabilize and kind of forge, I guess, because you kind of heat glass up to almost like a forge. They didn't really have that technology at this time period to get really big things of glass. So they typically made glass out of small little segments. And they were usually square segments, but you could probably make the shape out of a circle if you wanted to, but it would be more awkward to kind of fit in a area. But I guess technically they could also do circular or all sorts of different shape patterns, but typically they did square segments. And you'll see in a minute when we get this started how that looks like. So basically it kind of looked a little like the color of the glass kind of had a green tint to it. So I imagine that means it almost looked like the old-fashioned, sort of like beer bottles that have that kind of that green hue to it. I don't know if it was that strong of a green, because I think maybe the beer bottles are a little bit dyed to be even more green than what's natural. But we can look up pictures as well. We don't want to import a 3D mesh, do we? Yes, we do. All right, sorry, I lost track of where I am. So we want to go to our asset folder. Texture, asset, and we are looking for tile texture base. Really simple shape. It's just a cube, or just a square. So, what do we need out of this? We need to have geometry, for one. We're at 4 faces. Now we're at 50,000. That's just going to let us draw stuff, where if I was at 4, I can't draw anything on here because there's only 4 points. So this middle section has no data on it. Now I have all these points, I can draw this. So, what does the glass kind of look like? Well, it was in little steel frames. So what we can do here is we can just import a primitive, and we're just going to get a cube like that. And then we're just going to shrink this down. Very thin. Okay. And so what we want to do here is we want to start. Gonna do a little bit of transparency, maybe. We can't. So we're gonna just do a split. So we're gonna just go split masked. There. We're going to start there. End there. Then we want to find the middle of those, approximately. It doesn't have to be exact. There. Middle of that. Middle of that. Then we're just going to do one more set. And again, this is not exact, but it's pretty close. And the reason why we don't want to do exact is because these windows would be made by hand. So if you're making something by hand, you don't need to be exact. You want to be pretty close, but you don't need to be exact. So we're just going to do that. And again, none of these need to be perfect. In fact, we're going to do something pretty cool in a minute. So halfway, boom, boom, approximately there. Approximately there. There we go. That's a little bit biased towards one side, but I don't care. It's fine. There we go. You can start to see the little squares forming. And they're not perfect squares, but that's exactly what we want. We do not want perfect squares. Perfect squares are of the devil. Welcome in, Synth. So, if we just look up really quickly. This is sort of like your classic medieval window. This guy right here. Or something like this. Now you'll notice we're using squares. But if you're not stupid, you can figure out that you can turn a square 45 degrees and it becomes a diamond. And it's a lot easier to set up squares than it is diamonds. Straight and across is a lot easier to deal with than diagonal. You can do diagonal, but this is just easier, and then you can just rotate your UV 45 degrees, and you can have diamond. And if you want to have them a certain length, you can figure that out too. But we start with squares, and then we can distort the UV to make whatever pattern we want. Like, there's no point trying to flesh out the diagonal lines and make sure the diagonal lines are perfect. It doesn't need to be like that. Now, most of these windows that we're seeing here are recreations. Look at this one. This is a nice one. This is... I was saying earlier, there's circular pattern windows. You can kind of make windows whatever shape you want. But they had to be small. They didn't have the technology for giant panes of glass like we see in a lot of modern buildings. They didn't have that technology until the late medieval period. Or even maybe the Renaissance period. They just... large-scale glass work was just not really a thing back then. It was primarily repurposed glass from the Roman Empire. So they would get these glass windows and they would kind of just break them and melt them down into new shapes and repurpose them, which is why most glass had a green tint to it as well. Because it was a lot of recycled and repurposed from other civilizations. But there was also something with the effect of the glass that's not really shown in a lot of these pictures because this is not historic stuff. So we're going to try and search historic. Medieval windows. Because there's a very specific pattern to how that glass would be shaped. And it'd be very hard to see through. Depending on the style of the window. Like, a lot of this is fake glass. Like, this is just super clear the glass wasn't clear. It had a green tinge to it, kind of like this. And like this is perfectly straight between the frame. It would actually, there would be pooling. There'd be evidence of like pooling around the edge of each metal frame, right? Because you're kind of pouring molten glass into this frame here, and it was a little bit, it wasn't as clean and clear as you see in a lot of the modern reproductions. It was had a quite distinct pattern to it that I'm not finding a great example of it. Medieval glazing, hello. We could look up here, because this is a good example. This was a pretty good example of how the windows look. Do you see that kind of spiral effect in there? How you kind of got a little bit of like a jitteriness, and then you can see the pooling in the corners. Like this looks like the bottom of like a beer bottle almost. That's kind of how you would expect with this style of medieval windows. So that's kind of what we're aiming for when we build our stuff. We're going to have a little bit of like a pool. I want to find like a nice alpha map that we can just stamp it, because that will be a little bit more consistent. Maybe we can just make one. You can probably just make one. We'll do that. We'll make one. So, first things first, this frame doesn't really look like a frame yet. So we can just go into the geometry here, and we're just going to Dynamesh this. Beautiful. That's exactly what we want. I'll just divide it. And then we're just going to add... Actually, we can just go in here. Find it again. It's very big still. And we're just going to go ahead here and do... we got the polish tool in. We don't really need anything else. And we just want to go to our curve section and just get our wrap mode set to 1. What this is going to do is if I go over here like that, does it affect the other side? Doesn't look like it does. Hold on a second. Let's go over here for a second. Go to curve. If I draw outside of this, Why doesn't that work? New document. Document. No. Okay, does this work now? No. What size is my tile texture? Geometry size. But what does that mean? So, we need to hold on a second. We can fix this. It's just being a little annoying. Hey, Dita, welcome in. Resize ZBrush. Resize document. Subtool. Set scene scale. Where is that? It's because I started with a different shape, the document. Yeah, so how do we make this curve to the other side? I know if we started with this plane, we wouldn't have this issue. This thing. There we go. That didn't seem to fix the issue. So let's go back. We're not going to save any of these changes. Ah, shit. That's not going to work either. Mm-hmm. Let's re-import this thing. So we're not going to get our stuff back as is. So we're just going to have to deal with it. One of the things we can do is just turn on symmetry mode. But either way, we're just going to deal with it. Because it seems like the wrap mode is not working, and that's because we didn't start with the correct document to begin with, but that's fine. When you build it from the ground up and you work towards it, it works pretty good, but when you add it after the fact, it comes a lot more complicated. It is what it is. So, we want to shift this just a bit that way. And we're just going to make a really nice sort of frame here that's just hammered around and smacked in and looking nice. Very quick. This is extremely expensive for how little resolution we have to work with. Just because of the nature of like a mesh. Very sloppy, very messy. Very inefficient amount of polygons. But that's okay, we'll figure it out. Yeah, just kind of work your way across. And I don't know how great glass actually is rendered in Unreal Engine. I think that might be a limitation because not a lot of game engines do it very well. I remember Cyberpunk, playing that game, and glass was easily the ugliest element of that game. But mainly because it looks like they didn't use any frickin' like roughness maps or anything to it to make it seem a bit more interesting. It looks like they just kind of went with just a generic shader that looked like glass, and it didn't look realistic. Glass will typically have smears on it, fingerprints. Even in pristine condition, there'll be scratches, stuff like that. And Cyberpunk didn't look very good in that regard. But most games struggle with it. Most games just kind of fake it. So I'm curious what we can actually get away with in Unreal Engine when it comes to stuff like glass. But you can see what we have sculpted versus what we don't have sculpted. There's a pretty distinct difference. But yeah, I think I want to see what kind of glass windows we can get. I do know glass in particular is very... like opacity is very expensive. If you remember the other day when I pulled up the quad overdraw optimization, ugliest part was where we had that particle effect. That light beam and God ray coming down, and that is just because you got triangles over triangles covering the same space, even though it's not that bad. There's still quad overdraw going on because you still have triangles and quads overlapping each other over the same space. So there's still technically quad overdraw going on because you have opacity. So that's another reason that a lot of games can shy away from those kind of effects because it does have quad overdraw. At its very nature of being a transparent material. But a little bit of it isn't that big of a deal. It's when it gets excessive that it becomes a problem. Yeah, we just kind of want to knock this out. General Motors, Tomboy. General Motors. Just want to knock this out quickly. Beautiful. Oh, did you see the Anthem trailer? Not Anthem. That was the other shit game. Marathon. I don't know what it is. And I was thinking about it. I think it might be from Cyberpunk, because Cyberpunk was hyped. But everyone wants to do that hot pink fucking color scheme. Hot pink. Lime green. Look at how ugly this looks. Look at that gun. This is the other thing. Everyone's like, oh, we want like this need to be over stylized so that you're shooting fucking cubes and rectangles. Like, actually, I like detail in my games. I like when my games, like, that doesn't, like, that looks like something made out of freaking shitty ass Lego. Look how ugly that shit looks. Just terrible. I mean, Bungie's been dead since like 2010, but still, it's like, what even is this? It's like they're trying to be like an indie game, a low budget indie game. But at the same time, they mesh some stuff that looks like you would put in a realistic game. Like, you have all this foliage here. But then you have this really weird character design. And then you have, like, a super detailed face. Like, pick one, dude. Like, what are we looking at here? Like, the face is relatively high detail. And then you got these super blocky, low detailed armors and guns and atmosphere. It just looks ugly. And then there's this thing. What is this? Oh, that's just a rumor. So that's like from Destiny, probably. I don't know. Like, look at that color scheme. Like, yeah, they're trying to capitalize on dipping their toes in like indie game shit, but it's like you guys have like this game probably has like a $200 million budget. So like make it look like it's worth $200 million. Like make a $200 million looking game. Don't make a fucking. But then of course they have this. They always kind of like this, super pale guy with like the black paint over the eyes. Like, what the fuck even is this shit, man? I don't know. It seems stupid to me. Yeah, it's terrible. I don't know what they're doing other than China paying them to make shit so that China can buy up the gaming market. But you look at like that Wukong game and that exploded in popularity. And you want to know why? Because it fucking looked good. It didn't look like shit. I mean, gameplay looked kind of uninspired and unoriginal, but graphically it looked really nice. And everyone's trying to say, well, I'm tired of the realistic, gritty games that came out in like the 2010s and stuff like that. It's like 2025, dude. It's been 15 years. Fucking get over it. I think we can go back to realistic looking games and cool shit instead of this fucking everything needs to be hyper saturated and vibrant and then also lime green bullshit in colors that don't fit into anything. Like, we get it. You like the kind of like dystopian Blade Runner cyberpunk art style. Get over yourselves. Fuck, I'll take Fifth Element over what they're doing here. Yeah, gaming seems to have, they're in like identity crisis mode right now where they just, no one wants to do their own, well, the problem with big companies is that you can't just do your own art style and make something look cool because you have to get it approved through your board of directors and they're going to be going, well, this is what's trending right now. This is what looks cool. You got to have your art style look like this. So they're going to look at games like Schedule 1 and a couple of the other big indie hits and say, hey, we need to replicate this. We need to incorporate this style. People like it. It's like people don't play indie games for their art style in particular. They understand the game's got a low budget. Like, you got to know your fucking audience. And it seems, well, I know for a fact boardrooms don't know what their freaking audience is and what their market is, but you think developers would have a better time articulating what they need to do to capture their markets. But I guess not. Hope I get recognized someday. Maybe someday. But not today. Let's see here. I personally don't like neon cyberpunk. Yeah, I like the militaristic Halo art style. It's pretty good. I think Reach was the peak. Reach was the peak Halo art style, in my opinion. Reach felt like Bungie fought, like, there were designs in Reach that were really ugly. Like, I thought the brutes were really ugly in Halo Reach. But but it felt like with Halo Combat Evolved, you had some pretty cool armor designs, but it was very clearly limited by the technology at the time. Halo 2 was a little bit more of a refined art style that was better optimized for the technology, even though they had a really terrible development. You could see the Master Chief kind of come through. And then Halo 3 was sort of like just an HD upgrade to Halo 2. And then it felt like with Halo Reach, they're like, okay, let's make this more grounded, more practical, make it look like the pieces actually fit together. That's what Halo Reach felt like to me. Where Halo 3 felt a little bit more on the high sci-fi, where the stuff doesn't really, the pieces are there, but they don't really seem like they fit as nicely as Halo Reach. At least for the Spartan armors. And I might, well, I probably won't because there's only like 3 people watching, but I thought the Halo Reach assault rifle was the best looking assault rifle. And the DMR and all of those rifles, I thought Halo Reach nailed their gun design for the Spartans. Not so much for the Covenant, I don't think. I think the Covenant got a little bit too weird in some of their stuff, like their carbine was... I like Halo 3's carbine. But the because it's supposed to be alien. And Halo Reach felt a little bit more, I don't know, it still felt alien, but I thought Halo Reach, they nailed the human weapons and armor and stuff, but then they fell off on the alien stuff. Covenant stuff, I should say. But Halo Reach was definitely peak for the human side. ODST's favorite armor in Halo. Yeah, ODST is nice. Yeah, Halo Reach was peak. Outside of like the armor abilities, that was a dumb addition to the game. I wound up playing SWAT more than any other game mode in Halo Reach because, well, Halo Reach was a DMR fest. DMR was the best, far away the best gun in the games, and everyone was just using it. But SWAT also had no armor abilities, so you just didn't have to deal with that nonsense. Armor abilities was kind of fun for a bit, and then it just was terrible. It got old really quick. Especially, I really hate games in multiplayer games where you have temporary invincibility, like armor lock. Like, everyone goes, well, armor lock isn't that bad because you can punish, and there's a couple of things, but it's like, it just completely resets the fight. You basically just spam the armor lock, and then everyone else has to just avoid you for a couple of seconds. And it's just like, it just takes out of the fight. There's other games that have similar stuff where it's just like, it's annoying. It's annoying to deal with. Not a fan of that style, but zombies, or infection, I should say. Infection and SWAT were peak in Halo Reach. And the customization, the progress system was peak. I don't know why they can't just... Well, I do know why they can't, but... honestly, like, someone... Well, it doesn't matter, because Halo is kind of dead now, but... if you could, someone just needs to smack whoever's in charge of Halo right in the face and say, just copy what Reach did, you fucking idiots. Just do Reach again. Custom armors, deep progress system, everything unlocks in game. Fuck off. You'd make more money. What do you think makes more money, Tomboy? Having overpriced DLC skins and maybe a third of your user base, and 3% of those people buy those DLC skins, or fucking releasing a game that has freaking 15 million people playing it. Everyone bought the damn game. Tons of revenue coming in. And then release your fucking DLC bullshit. Like, it's just... this idea that you just gotta keep nickel and diming people, it's just... diminishing returns. Every freaking iteration. Less people buy your game. Yeah, no, the Spartan armor sets in Infinite were retardedly overpriced. You can buy a full game and get tons of hours of enjoyment for the same price that they want to charge for a skin. Like, these people are out of touch with reality. We're gonna have to see. I think Gears of War is probably gonna be pretty ass. But we're gonna have to see. I suspect the new one that they announced, the Gears of War E-Day, I hope it's decent enough, but I just don't know. They did such a bad job with Gears 5. I don't know if they're gonna. There were elements of Gears 5 that were really good, but they did so much bad stuff with that stupid, like Jack having so many ridiculous powers that it just kind of becomes you spamming and cheesing gimmick powers to get over the stupid enemy placement. Just stopped feeling like Gears of War. Let's delete this. Cancel, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. We're going to divide this. Go into surface. And what do we want to have in here? Maybe this. Just a little bit of like erosion. Although there wouldn't be erosion because this is yeah, there would. There'd be a little bit of erosion, sorry. Just fix this. This is way too strong. Then we're going to go into noise here. Delete. And here we just want to get our steel scratches. So if we go to Z brushes and then Z alphas, we should be able to get steel scratches. Right there. We want to get rid of the mix here. There we go. So that's sort of like our steel frame. And we want to come up here and turn transparency off. And what we want to do here is just bring this up. So we're just going to grab this. Basically like that. Then we can come over here. I'm going to divide it one more time. And we should be able to just do I'm going to try and just do one square. I don't know why it's so bumpy. I think it's because of this. Yeah, I don't care for that. Let's fix this here. BIN. Let's try our inflate tool. Yeah, that looks already better. You just kind of want to show like little bits of pooling. And then we can just come in here with our polish brush. Basically, that doesn't look good. Okay, let's try something different here. Let's try a different pattern here. I don't trust them to remake games. Yeah, that's true. Welcome in, FP. Glass. Swirl. Pattern. Images. Not quite what I want. This is what I'm trying to emulate here. To an extent. And I think what I can do... Maybe he's going to BST. We're going to go into drag. And we should be fine. Something like this. Just want to up the intensity. Come on. Something like that. All right. We can then take this lovely shape here and go into brush. Sorry, we want to go to alpha. From mesh. Okay. Then I can turn this on. Turn that off and go BST. And we can just get rid of that and go to this. And I should be able to do that. Now the intensity's way the fuck off. Yeah, I like that actually quite a bit. We're just gonna get rid of this. We should be able to just very easily do that. And then we can just put this in every single one. Like so. We get that lovely glass pattern in all the windows. Different degrees of efficacy, different degrees. How this stuff all works. And right now it looks a little funky, but it's also because we don't have the proper properties of glass applied to this. If I were to come in here and let's change this to something like chrome. And we went into the material here. We went into our modifiers here. We should be able to have opacity. We took our opacity down about 48%. And maybe even change the color to match the color of the glass that we would eventually have. Just went into color and fill object. And we went back into here and we switched this back. That, maybe not that color. Now all of a sudden you can kind of see what we're doing here. Hell, we could go back into this. Color fill object. And then come back into here. Change this to... Let's do something even ridiculous like toy plastic. mRGB, sorry. We're screwing this up. We want this to be the steel. Fill object. Back into here. There we go. Now you can see that this has a little bit more of like a glass effect. You can kind of see what we're aiming for here. And it's just a little bit more visible. Effectively, what we can do as well is smooth this out a little bit so it's a bit more subtle. For right now, it's all right. It would be cool if there was a shortcut to do this, but there isn't that I know of. Yeah, I'm liking this a lot. We have symmetry on for some reason. Don't really need symmetry on, so we'll just get rid of that. Okay. So now that we have that, we want to lift this glass up. Like so. And then we should be able to just smooth this out a little bit. Just to smooth it over. Different degrees of smoothness. But you get that nice little droplet effect, right? And then we're just going to very carefully come in. We want to just kind of pull that in a bit. Why are we doing this? They kind of just give the illusion of it pooling in each and every frame. It just gives it a little bit more depth. But yeah, you just kind of grab the center knob and pull it in a bit, and you just get that little bit of pool going on. Pull you in. Like you'd expect. Like water poured into a tray. Now you got a very distinct pattern. And then maybe we'll see how this looks. This might be a little bit pushing our luck here. We go into surface. And we add the noise. And we turn on our alpha. We just got to get, let's see what it looks like when we apply it. It's too thick. Get rid of the strength. Just barely touch it. There we go. You just go in here. We're going to just turn off the alpha here. Just get rid of the scale. There we go. It's just going to give us a lot of interesting reflections and light. Okay. And we should be able to merge these into one piece. Merge down. Hit OK. 3.4 million, that's pretty small. Like it's decently sized, but considering this is the only asset we're using, it should be fine. And so this can be under a new file. We'll call this glass. And this is a specific type of glass. This is just going to be glass. Basic. Hit save. It's taking the poly paint with it. It doesn't really need it, but we also don't need a low poly because this is based off of just a square tile, so we can just bring that in. Hey, Mark, I didn't hear you. Why didn't I hear you? Welcome in. It's clicking. I just didn't hear the click. Okay. Now that that's set, we can open up Marmoset here. and we'll bring the glass into the game. So we'll keep it in the same thing as this. We'll create a new bread box. We'll import our assets. So the first thing we need to do is create a new material. So we're going to just duplicate, just create new, all that new mat, and we can just come over here and hit apply. So this is our low poly. We put that in our low poly, and this is our high poly. Nothing crazy being done here. We just need to grab this. Actually, let's turn on the high poly for a second. That's where our window is. So let's just look at our capture net here, and it's not quite on the outside of it. So we're just going to move that there. It's going to take a second, and then we just got to go back up here. This can be 1024, I think. I don't think we need to be 2K texture for a window. And then, yeah, we just want to change this to a PNG. Bake. And this can go, I guess, under miscellaneous, because there won't be a lot. There won't be a lot. So curvature, ambient occlusion, all that sort of stuff. Bake. We can just turn this off. We should be able to just hit preview. And there's our window. Didn't seem to capture any of the swirl patterns. Let's take a look at the material here, and let's just hit there's a button here to make it display on here. So you got a little bit of swirling, but not a lot of swirling. Let's split this off. Just for a second, let's reapply some swirls onto this. How do you turn this? Oh, that's supposed to be like that. Okay, there it goes. Hold on a second, guys. We just got to do some... Sometimes you get a pattern that you bake, and if it doesn't look good baked, it's not going to translate. You're not going to see it. So if we have to fudge some stuff a little bit here, it is what it is. Because I'd rather have visible ripples than non-visible ripples, so I'd rather have it overdone than underdone. So we're going to just make this a little bit stronger. Go from there. And then hopefully we can actually get this into the damn church. Because we still got to do some flooring and a couple of doors, different door styles. I'm probably going to change the frame of the doors once we get the door in there and make the frame fit the door rather than make the door fit the frame, because I want a good looking door, and then the door frame is just, we make it work, right? So we don't have to worry about that sort of stuff. And there's still, despite how much progress we've made on that church, there's still quite a bit left to do. So it's going to be at least a good chunk of tomorrow as well. I have work tonight, so I won't be able to get it done after stream, but we still have a lot of work to do. What does that look like? Does that look any good? Doesn't look good at all. I like the upright. I was thinking maybe we do the odd one that's inverted, but it doesn't look good. Doesn't look natural. There, let's try this again. Merge down. Export it out. Again, it does the poly paint. I don't care about the poly paint, but it's fine. Okay. It's reloading into the scene. Luckily, Marmoset does auto update. We'll bake it again. There you go. Now you can see it. It's subtle, but you can see it. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what matters, as long as, like, it is so subtle you can barely see it. But hopefully when we start adding masks and stuff like that and change the properties. Now, the other thing we need to test for is to make sure this tile's okay. I think it'll be fine. Yeah, you can't tell. That tile's perfect. Okay, so we're done here. We can just save this really quickly. We can just get straight into Substance Painter. Hold on. So we want to import our resources. So texture, bake, miscellaneous. And there's our lovely windows. Current session import. There we go. So we want our normal map. Look at those beautiful tiles. Curvature and occlusion. Yeah, you can see that beautifully in there. I'm gonna go into smart materials, not mask, although the masks are kind of cool. We're just gonna find our Viking steel. Just delete everything in here. Just above this. Gonna make this quite rough. And the color is just gonna be a mid-tone. Make this into a multiply layer. Add a black mask. A little less contrast. Get rid of all the grunge amount. Lower the contrast a bit more. Okay, I don't like this. Let's delete this and start over. There. That's what we want to do. That gives us the nice steel color we're looking for. And then we're just going to come over here. Materials. We're just going to do a color. We're going to do a soft light. Just have a very slight green tinge to it. Just like, I mean, barely a hint. Like that. And then we're going to go over top of this. And I guess the best thing we could use is probably just the plastic gloss. And we're just going to stick that there. And what we want to do here is get our opacity in here. What is our shader? You want alpha blending. Something like that. Do we care about metallic? I don't think we want it to be metallic, even though glass sometimes has some metallic properties. Okay, and we're just going to actually move this out of the Viking steel area so that we can get the most out of this. And then this base color is obviously, it has a slight green tinge to it. Like so. Okay. And then we can come over top of it. And this is just sort of like a dust effect. Get rid of all the grunge. So what do we want to do here? We want to just look at this dirt. The more we even that out, the less it looks good. Something like that really gives it a little bit more of a kind of a pop there. I think this needs to be a bit more on the yellow side. Like that. And then you can kind of start to see how that looks. We can go, we need to calm that down a little bit. It's just too dusty. Yeah, maybe something like that. Or you can get that kind of like that. Then we duplicate this. Make that a little bit more like a standard dark. Like that. Something like that. And let's just, for the sake of visibility, let's add a white mask. Let's add a black mask to this. And then we're just going to see what it looks like actually in the frame, because it's kind of hard to visualize. Okay, so this is a color. What if I made this a deeper green like that. Let's look at this. Does that look good? I am not sure. Maybe this roughness can be a little bit chiller. And that roughness can be maxed out. I want to get the most out of that spiral. Maybe like that. That might be it there. That looks pretty good. Let's get the rest of this filled in and then we'll see. I'm just curious. What if I made this a white mask? Then we just did this. Does that seem to be easier? To me, this looks like it's easier. It just looks extremely unnatural the way it is now, so I'm trying to fix it. Get something we're happy with here. The other thing we can't really judge on is its transparency, and opacity is not excellent. And we should also have probably some degree of emission on this as well. Even if it's subtle. Just because during the daytime, glass lights up, especially glass that has a color in it and stained. Now this has a natural staining because glass in this time period had a natural green tint to it. But yeah, we're just trying to figure out what the best mode here is. Good day, Razio. Welcome in. Just trying to make some cool, authentic, historic windows here. I think it's panning out. We just need to get it all fleshed out. One of those. gonna back that off a touch. Oops, too much. Problem with working in the edges of the UVs is it can be a little bit of a problem with getting the stuff in. But I like this so far. I just think the glass color is... something's just off with it right now. I'm basically trying to make a beer bottle kind of color to it. But we also want enough like dust effects that it feels... I don't know, that feels okay right now. But now we got something we could work with. Let's take a look here. Oops. See... opacity. Okay, so this here needs an opacity of white. That's going to help us a lot. There's the color. So I'm thinking maybe this is too saturated. And then this needs to be a little bit more on the yellow-orange kind of color there. This guy here is just not quite in the scene enough. There. Okay, I want to take this, max out the roughness, close that out, and make a fill layer, and just put a nice grunge thing in here. So if we go to our grunges, we got all sorts of fun little things. I think that's the one. And we just want to change the scale. Something like that. Don't have an emissive color on this. We can create one. Make that black. Perfect. And we also want to go into here. Um, I thought that would die down a bit more. That's okay. I don't mind actually a little bit of light leaking through and bleeding through. I don't think that's a problem. Okay. Let's see what this looks like. I was like, that looks kind of cool. Hard to see because of the head-on shot, but I think that looks pretty good. We'll see how it looks. We may have to do some tweaking. All this glass. One. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a test window. We're going to bring it into Unreal Engine, and we're going to just get the shader figured out. Because I want to get that shader proved out now. So we're going to come up here. We're going to make a steel frame. So we should be able to do this. Maybe make it a little fatter. That looks pretty good there. And then bring that in. Gonna be checking on this. Very interesting. I appreciate it. It is. Glass is gonna be tricky. Glass is a tricky shader to pull off and make it look good. And like I said, Cyberpunk is a really damn good looking game. And they didn't pull glass off at all. It looks like shit. So it's a tricky thing to pull off. I think we want to be biased towards this edge. I think that's the ideal. Bring this up here. Okay, so we want to make this... Let's go to the front view. Symmetry. Just want to line this up. There. So we're still out a little bit. Which you don't want to be perfectly lined up, but you want to be decently lined up. There. Close enough. I can take this guy here. Oh. What the fuck happened there? Reserve UVs is on. We can just, what is this? Why isn't this set to world? Alright. Give me a second. Go back to about a normal height there. Should be able to bring that up. And we want to turn on our frame here. Put that back to world, please. Something like that. Actually, before we get carried away there, let's change this. So we're going to put a little piece there. We're going to grab the top, and we're just going to shrink that in like that. And then we should be able to just add a couple edge loops in here. It's going to make that feel a lot tighter. Grab our vertices. Right there. Okay. How the fuck do we do this? We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. That's there. We're going to stick that approximately there. Oh my god. Vertex. Put that there. What we want to do here, something like that actually is good. And we just want to extrude this out. Like that. We want to tilt this a bit more this way. And then we can come over here. We want that pretty much 90 degrees. I'm just gonna grab our scale tool and flatten that out. And from this, we can actually smooth this out a little bit. What happened? There. When you rotate stuff, it kind of messes with the scale a little bit. So we're going to go into our edge here. We're just going to do a nice bevel. That's just going to smooth that area out a little bit. Okay. Should be able to combine this and then just flip this on the x-axis. Oops. Don't forget to duplicate it. Okay. So now we got some stuff here that looks pretty good. This here needs to be flattened like that. Okay. Actually, let's grab all of this, merge it into one. Let me just fix this quick. It should just work. Just want to kind of tweak the alignment of this. Doesn't really work. You know what? It's fine. It's close enough. So we're just going to go around here and select all these edges and bevel them out so that they're just a little bit cleaner or a little bit more fleshed out and a little bit easier to butt up against each other without any issues. So there. Delete history, and there we go. And we just want to, as well, add an edge here, because that's just going to make that a little bit cleaner. Yeah. So when we soften all the edges, it should look pretty smooth. Okay. I'm going to add another piece here. Again, I want to make this a little bit thicker. And add an edge loop there. Actually, that's fine like that. Pull this out a bit. And maybe even do something like that. We're going to cut the ends off of this because we don't need them. Like that. Okay. And then maybe even there. We're just going to rotate this. That is effectively our window frame. Favorite material, Lambert. We're just going to call this iron fittings. We're going to isolate this. And now we got to make this look like steel. So we do have a nice material for stuff like this called the iron fittings. And basically it gives us nice little edge finding scratches and wear and tear. So it will look very good. Just got to find our iron folder. And we should be able to just take this thing. And we're going to use a lot of this. So, how do we make this happen? We're just going to go into UV automatic. We're going to open this up. And we should be able to just grab one of these. Let's split this off. Let's isolate this so I can see what we want to do here. So, this top piece, we're going to sew all this together. This top piece here should be completely independent. This piece here needs to be independent. Independent. And do the same thing at the bottom here. Shift X. And grab this. And then blow this up till it fits. Like so. Similar technique here. We're going to isolate it so that we can just see a little bit better. Like that. Maybe make this a little tighter. Okay. This one here is less important because it's going to be facing against the wall, so it's not super critical, but we'll just knock it around anyway. That's fine. There we go. There's our lovely window frame. Take this guy here and we'll delete him. Duplicate this. Delete the history. And just flip this. Move it to a different spot. There we go. Solid windows. Like this. We're just going to shrink this down. Put that there. Is that offensive? Yeah, it is. It's kind of bad, actually. All right, let's figure this out. We need to sew this together, so we're just going to go in here and sew. And effectively, we can just grab this edge here, that edge there. That edge, that edge, that edge, and that should just sew together. Cut those. And then we can just go ahead put that there. We're going to scale all of these to fit each other. Actually, what are these? Yeah. We're going to go here. That's fine there. That's fine there. And then these guys here need to just be shrunk down to fit. Bring that so that they have about similar overlap. It's a little tedious. But it shouldn't be too bad. That's a lot better. Then we can just take this So that's good there. Now we just got to fix these. So this here, UV automatic. Just sew all the edges. And we'll attempt this. I don't know if this is going to be super smooth, but I might be able to just straighten the UV edge so it doesn't matter. But we're going to attempt this anyway. Grabbing that edge there. Okay. This is a little clumsy, so it's hard to see what I'm supposed to grab. Yeah, so that should be all of it. We're going to hit Shift X. Like so. Oops, see, we didn't grab everything. And then these here need to be straightened. What is this face? Alright, so that's not going to work. So unfortunately, we got to do it this way. Which is a little annoying, to be honest, but we'll make it work. Basically, what you got to do is just manually pull all of these faces so that they're straight. Like that. It looks like we missed one here. We just gotta re-pull these faces straight. Like so. And then we'll just tuck it in. Okay, so then the next step is to come over here. And grab all these faces. UVs, I should say, and we're just gonna pull that straight. Basically do that. And then we should just be able to grab this. Like that, and go, you're straight. State-mandated heterosexuality. Let's go. Does that look believable? Does that look a little distorted? It looks a little distorted. Yeah, if it doesn't look good, guys, it doesn't look good. So... we're going to take these. And we're going to just change this to a different material. And you'll see why in a minute. Call this solid iron. The arch in it's just too much to handle. But that's okay, because we can work around that. We'll just load this up. And go, yeah, that's fine. Or better yet, I got another idea. Let me isolate these. Modify straighten border. Modify straighten UV. Ooh, nope. Can we fix this? We're going to attempt it. Is there symmetry on? There's no symmetry on. Why is it blue? There. All right. Let's try this. Let's leave these angles the same. Let's ignore the side angles because we don't need the side angles to be straight. That looks pretty good. Then we can take this fat son of a bitch here and do the same thing. But I think we got the gist of it. Oh my god. Really? This does not want to work for me today. Yeah, I think we got it for the most part. Oops. Pull you a bit back. Not a lot, but a bit. And then just fix the top. Nope, the top's good. It's the bottom that's all janked. Just got a little bit of overlap here, right? So we pull that down. Like that, and that pretty much fixes the entire mesh. And then these three here can just be translated into solid iron. Like that. And we can delete this one. And just have a little bit of fun here. Actually, that doesn't matter. I don't care about that. There. Two different pieces of steel. Distinct from one another. And then we just got to get this bottom piece a little cleaned up. Sew it all together. There. Gorgeous window frame. Okay. So the window frame is complete. We're just going to take all these pieces here and merge them. And we should be fine to just create our plane here. So we're going to make a new plane. And we're just going to use this like that. And effectively, we're making glass, right? So we want to come over here. Just get this just past each other. Bring it up to about there. Duplicate. Right around there. Duplicate again. Grab our vertices here. Grab our edge. Bring this in. For now, basic underscore glass. And then we just want to get that texture re-exported, which I don't think we did yet, actually. So we're just going to call this basic underscore glass 01. We're going to file, export textures. We want this to be under here. Texture, substance. We'll put it under miscellaneous, I guess. New folder. Glass. Open that up. New folder again. What? Select that folder, and then we want to make this act proper, export. Okay. Probably the base color. Look at that. That already looks really cool. Problem is, how are we going to set this up? So, how are we doing this? We want this to be here. Virtually perfect overlap on all of these. We want this to be a tad bigger. And we want to rotate this 45 degrees. Change this to, I can't do a UV. That's fine though. There. There we go. There we go. And that's our window. We can take this, we're going to combine it. We're going to duplicate it. And we're just going to rotate it. Like that. No, we're not. We're going to flip it this way. Okay, there's our window, guys. We can combine this for now. But we're just going to duplicate it. Stick it here. And I just want to see what this is going to look like in Unreal Engine. So, unfortunately, this took up the entire day, but you know, it's better to take a little bit of extra time and do it right than to rush it and then think you need to fix it later. So I'd rather do it right. This is not correct. Assets. Miscellaneous, I guess. Make this an FBX. We're just going to go SM_window test. So if you look in really closely, do you see the little swirls? I don't think you do, but I think that's because that's more in the normal map than it is in here. So we got that exported. I think the glass is going to be its own custom material because I don't think we have anything set up to handle what we're trying to emulate with the glass just yet. So we're going to be making our own custom material with the glass. And then we will use our standard shader with other stuff. So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see what it looks like. But yeah, we need to experiment a little bit and see what we can work with. But I like the shape. I like the archway. I like how this all looks. I think that's a really nice looking window. And when we replicate this and we put it over here, we can just tweak some proportions. So you'll see how we do it in a minute. We might as well open that. But from this, we'll be able to make all the other windows we have in the scene, and we'll be able to make them pretty easily. Might as well load up level 3. And we'll just put it right in the middle of the town square, right here. This is a nice little starting area. So, we're going to load this into the test screen, or the temp screen here, because this is where we put all our test stuff. So we're going to just import assets, miscellaneous, and then just look for glass, window, or window test, or whatever we called it. We'll just type in window test, import. Okay. And open this up. Then we'll minimize this. And we'll load up our texture. So our texture isn't temporary. Our texture will be in the final version. So we're fine with that. What do we call this? Under building. Substance. Miscellaneous. So we want all 4 of these. And then we want to open this up. This has to be a mask file. Everything else we can leave alone. And in here, we want to just open up a material. A material. And we're just going to create a new master material. And we're just going to, because I don't think any of these are appropriate. Go into material. Just type in glass metal frame. Metal? I think my fingers were not coordinated. Metal frame, right there. Load that up. Looks pretty good, right? No, it doesn't look like anything. So we're just gonna come over here, drag these in. These all need to be converted to parameters. This is a normal map, so we're going to put normal. Norma. No, that sounds like some gypsy shit. Okay. This here is emission, so we're going to put emission. Emission. This is our color map, so we can just call this base underscore color. And then this is our opacity, occlusion, and roughness. So we just call this opaque matte. So we're going to plug the base color in. Looking good so far. We're going to plug in the normal map. That's looking pretty good so far. And then we're going to plug in our occlusion. Roughness. Metallic. There we go. So far, so good so far. We do have opacity in here. We got emission. All right. So that looks a little excessive. But we got to tweak some stuff here. This here translucent. And we're just going to take our thing here and put that there. So that doesn't work. Okay, it does work. Okay. The next thing we want to do here is we need to tone this down. So we're going to get a multiply. And we want to just get a value here. So we're just going to type in an S. And we're going to call this emissive. Emissive amount. Plug that into there. Plug that into there. That's set to 0. We can set this to 0.2 as the default value, and you can kind of see how much emissive we have. This is not right, so we're going to go into masked. Okay. And we can see that this is still too high, so we're going to go 0.02. And go, maybe that needs to be a little higher than that, 0.04. And you can see how that works. This here needs to be put into opacity mask. We're starting to see some stuff. I want to see if I can dither this. So maybe we take this out and we do a dither. And there you go. Now you're starting to see little bits of that. Just curious what that looks like. 0.03. Okay. And what happens if I also put this into specular? Gives it just a little bit more of a shine, don't it? What happens if I went with this into specular? That looks even better. Apply. And save. Now I don't know what we're working with yet. I just know that this looks okay in here. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay. So this is what we have. Let's go into content. temporary. Drag this out. We're going to expand this. Make it really fat. Just so that I can really test. What are we working with here? Honestly, that's pretty much it. You get that kind of rough look to it. You get that kind of swirly, spirally pattern. That's gorgeous. I think we've just, like, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. That's how you make glass, I guess, guys. You can see through it pretty easy. It renders really nicely. Wow. I thought there was going to be more messing around. I don't hate that there's not more messing around. I'm very appreciative of that fact, but I thought there was going to be more work to do. But look at the way it's only on certain angles do you see how the light reacts to it and you get that effect. So it's very subtle. Wow. I'm so happy that that just kind of worked itself out. Where is the iron fittings material? Oh, I have it right there. Okay. Save this for now. I can't wait to see this in the actual church. But yeah, we can delete that. We're going to duplicate this. Out there. This sits a little bit higher, eh? Bring that to there. We're going to just expand this. The golden rule in 3D modeling, guys, is if it doesn't fit, make it fit. We're going to just drag this up here. We're going to isolate this. We're going to grab this edge here, and we're just going to go into preserve UVs, and we should be able to just do that. Up in here. We're going to grab these faces here. Vertice. Pull that down. Oh, fuck off. Okay, so that's its limit. We're going to get rid of preserve UVs here. Doesn't look terrible. We'll leave it alone. Vertex. And oh, we have it doubled up here. Why is this doubled up? That shouldn't be doubled up. Oh. What's going on? I don't know. Base. Vertex. There. And maybe base. UV shell. There. All right. So we're close. It just doesn't quite, this doesn't fit. We're gonna split, and then we'll remerge. Center the pivot. And we're just gonna drag this down to the bottom frame here. You should be able to just kind of do that for the most part. Grab the vertices here. We're gonna turn on soft selection. Just a little bit of tweaking here and there. Good enough. That's what happened. That's why there was two, is because I brought the other one all the way up and we didn't need to. Merge that again, delete the history. Boom. And just kind of bring that in again. What if I were smart? I don't know if I am, but what if I were? Just pretend with me for a second, guys. Beautiful windows. Whoa. Beautiful windows. These ones are kind of short. So we should be able to grab this guy. And make this work. Do you guys remember the angle this had to be at? It was something silly. 18 and a half plus 9 or something like that. 27. I think it was 27. That looks like that fits perfect. Again, we want to be biased towards the rock side, but I think it was 27. Let me pull out the calculator. Calculator. So how did I come up with this formula? It was like 90 degrees divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 90 degrees divided by 6. 15. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. This fucking looks like it matches, so we're just gonna say it matches. For the sake of argument, that's a little off. It's a little bit off. When all else fails, fucking eyeball it. Then we're just going to go insert. We're going to bring this down to the bottom side here. Yeah, the golden rule is when everything else fails, eyeball it. Okay. So we're already too tall, but let's make ourselves a little bit wider. Whoa. What the fuck happened there? That should be under object. And we want to get rid of preserve EVs. There. Okay, so now we just want to make it a little bit shallower. About there. And then we're just going to turn on our symmetry here. So we're going to go to World X Symmetry. And go, okay, we want preserved UVs back on. Doesn't like that. Let's get rid of soft selection. So this is a triangle in the middle of this. So adding another curve in here is not a big deal. Okay. Damage-wise, the stone looks straight still for the most part, and the window looks intact. And then the whitewash looks fine too. So we did that, but we also fixed this side at the same time because we're super geniuses. So we're just a little bit out there. That's pretty dang aligned. Might as well keep the windows the same, right? We just grab all these vertices. Just kind of... can we preserve the UVs, please? Thank you, sweetheart. Fuck off. Right there. And we'll just add some edge loops. Oop. A little bit of jank there. This side looks fantastic. So then we just take this, combine it, delete the history, duplicate it, and then we'll just flip the scale over. Like that. Delete the history, freeze the transforms, merge all this crap together. Holy shit! It's 20 after. I gotta get moving. I'm just gonna fix this stone warpage. So we're just gonna grab this here. Hit F. Figure out where the fuck we are. Grab our UVs quick. Just figure out why that wants to be gay. Symmetry on. Turn symmetry off for now. You know what? Fuck it. You know what I can do? I can go into UV shell. Just hit unfold. I pulled that all straight. Doesn't matter. There we go. All right, guys. We gotta go. We're running way late, so thanks. Thanks for everyone who joined. Maybe we'll go raid Synth real quick. Then we'll go. We're real late. Five, four, three. Good. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. More stuff to do tomorrow on this church. We got to do doors, floors. I'm thinking about tweaking how we did the tiles and maybe making the tiles more viable. And we'll see how that goes from there. But yeah, got more work to do. So thank you guys for hanging out, and we'll catch you later.